Your uncle sends you a text at 11 p.m. It's a link. The headline has 4 exclamation points and the word they in all caps. You know deep down that you should not click it. You click it anyway, and 20 minutes later, you're mildly convinced that birds might not be real. This isn't a personal failing, and it's definitely not because your uncle is uniquely persuasive. It's because your brain has a factory setting that makes it very, very good at finding patterns, whether or not those patterns are actually there. Let's start with the feature responsible for this whole mess: pattern recognition. For most of human history, spotting patterns quickly was the difference between eating dinner and becoming dinner. A rustle in the grass, 3 times in a row, from the same direction, was worth taking seriously. The humans who noticed the patterns fast, even imperfect ones, tended to survive longer than the humans who shrugged and said, probably nothing. Over enough generations, this built a brain that's less interested in being right and more interested in being fast. Better to see 10 fake patterns than miss one real leopard. The problem is that this same pattern-hungry brain doesn't have an off switch for situations that don't actually involve leopards. Psychologist Michael Shermer coined a term for this exact tendency: patternicity, the inclination to find meaningful patterns in both meaningful and meaningless noise. Your brain doesn't run a background check on whether a pattern is statistically legitimate before it gets excited about it. It just says, ooh, connection, and hands you the dopamine before the fact-checking department even shows up to work. There's a second ancient feature stacking directly on top of this one, and it's arguably worse: agency detection. Humans evolved to assume that things happen because someone or something did them on purpose. Your wind rustling the bushes might just be wind, but assuming it's a predator costs you nothing if you're wrong and saves your life if you're right. So your brain defaults to assuming intention behind events, even when the far more boring explanation is coincidence, incompetence, or just how large chaotic systems occasionally behave. Researchers studying the psychology of superstition have described this as a hyperactive agency detection device, a system so eager to find a someone behind events that it'll assign intent to literally anything, including weather, sports losses, and apparently birds. Put those 2 features together, patternicity plus hyperactive agency detection, and you've built the perfect machine for manufacturing conspiracy theories. Something big and unsettling happens. Your brain immediately searches for a pattern connecting it to other things. Then it assumes that pattern was put there on purpose by someone, because it just happened randomly is the least emotionally satisfying explanation your brain has ever been offered. Here's the detail that actually explains why conspiracy theories cluster around big events specifically. Researcher Jan-Willem van Prooijen, who has spent years studying the psychology of conspiracy belief, points to something called proportionality bias, the gut feeling that big events need big causes. A president gets assassinated by one unstable guy with a mail-order rifle, emotionally unsatisfying. There has to be more to it, because the size of the tragedy doesn't feel like it matches the size of one guy, one gun, bad luck. Your brain isn't weighing evidence at that point. It's matching emotional proportions, and a lone gunman explanation just feels too small for the size of the hole it left behind. This is also exactly why conspiracy theories spike during periods of uncertainty and powerlessness. When people feel like they have no control over a chaotic situation, a psychologist named Karen Douglas has found that conspiracy beliefs often function as a kind of compensation, an explanation that's scary, sure, but at least it's an explanation. A shadowy group secretly running things is somehow more comforting than pure patternless chaos, because a secret plan can theoretically be uncovered, exposed, and stopped. Randomness can't be defeated, it can only be endured, and your brain understandably hates that option. None of this means every pattern you notice is fake, or that healthy skepticism toward official explanations is bad. Sometimes the rustling bushes really do have a leopard in them. Sometimes the boring coincidental explanation actually is the correct one, and sometimes it isn't. The point isn't which specific theory is true or false. The point is that the mental machinery deciding how convincing a theory feels to you was built for spotting predators and enemies, not for evaluating structured evidence about government agencies. And it is currently applying leopard detection standards to a text message from your uncle. It also explains why debunking a conspiracy theory with facts alone so rarely works. You're not arguing with someone's evidence. You're arguing with their ancient pattern matching system, the one that already decided this feels true before a single source got checked, and facts presented calmly at a dinner table are simply not as loud as a system that once kept your ancestors alive by assuming the worst. Handing someone a spreadsheet is not going to outshout 10,000 years of assume it's a leopard. So the next time you find yourself 3 tabs deep into a rabbit hole at midnight, nodding along because it all just connects, you can recognize what's actually happening. You're not uncovering a secret. You're running incredibly old software that rewards you for finding patterns quickly, assumes someone's always behind the curtain, and desperately wants big events to have big, satisfying causes. It's not gullibility. It's a leopard detection system, running at full strength, pointed at a Wikipedia rabbit hole about birds. Your uncle texts again the next morning. New link. 4 new exclamation points. You already know you're going to click it, and now at least you know exactly why.